world that's been overrun by snowflakes, humanity's last hope is a group of friends with a lot to say.
Hello and welcome to another Klex podcast. I will be your host this week, Fear the Fox, and I am joined by Ptolemy.
Hi.
It's just us this week. We're recording late because we usually record about 6 o'clock, and it's about 6:12 right now, and we're the only ones here. I guess it's a bank holiday.
Yes, it is. It is a bank holiday.
Figures, because it's fucking hot.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
It's too hot.
And we can't run fans while we're doing the recording, so we're just going to have to put up with it.
Oh, Lord.
So, should we jump straight into it? I think it's going to be, with just the two of us, it's going to be just a conversation.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I'm kind of wrote down some topics that I wanted to get into, but with just me here, I think it's more or less going to turn into a rant of these are things that annoy me. But yeah, so the first thing that sprang to my mind was in-game achievements. Wanted to talk about in-game achievements and what people think about achievements, because for me, like when I was kind of playing Left 4 Dead and games like that, when achievements kind of happened, they were a thing on the Steam storefront, and I really like the idea of achievements. Like, oh, these are actual goals that I can do in games. It kind of it led me to like, okay, so I play a certain way, but maybe I'm missing content because I haven't done these things, and achievements could sometimes bring in these ideas of, well, if have you done this while doing that, and I liked it. I liked the idea of like the goals of chasing these achievements, but you end up kind of achievement chasing too much.
But some of them, at least from what I've recently seen, they are a little bit ridiculous. Like, as you know, I'm currently playing Slime Rancher. I've pretty much completed the game, but there's a couple of little things that are left over, and including some treasure pods that I've yet to find. But in the menu, I found the list of achievements.
Okay.
And they actually tell you how to achieve these achievements, which is pretty interesting, considering, they don't usually give you that much of a clue as to how to get these achievements. But some of the achievements, you would have to be playing a pretty bad game to be able to get those achievements.
Oh, I've seen like achievements like throw yourself off a ledge 50 times.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's not playing the game. That's losing the game. That's failing. That's not an achievement. That's an anti-achievement.
Like, one of the achievements in the game is an achievement called You Monster. And to achieve that one, because some of the slimes are meat eaters, I have to keep chickens on the ranch because that's their main food source.
Great game, by the way.
Yes, it is a very great game, very zen, and you can just play it for hours. It's fantastic. And I keep coops of chickens, and obviously if I've got roosters as well, they breed. But to get this achievement of You Monster, you have to take one of the chicks and send it into the incinerator. Why would you do that?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, sometimes achievements are just so, like, they take you out of the game in a way. You look at the achievement, you're like, okay, well, I'll just go out of my way to do this thing. And then, like, what's the point in doing it? Like, achievement should be something you earn naturally in the game by being good at the game, or things that you hadn't thought of. Like, maybe a racing game where you take a shortcut and you're like, I didn't even know there was a shortcut there. But because there was an achievement to do it, now I'm looking for it, So achievements can be really helpful for the game designers to sort of guide you down a certain path. They can lead you to, because they're telling you, like, this is a thing you can do in the game. But sometimes they're not good things to do in the game. They're not good things. They're like, well, so I got to waste things and I've got to go out of my way. And sometimes this is the thing that really gets me. Achievements that can only be accomplished if everybody's on the ball, if everybody's on the same page.
Yes.
Like, for example, in certain games you have to, it's just luck. It's just lucky. Like games where you have to kill a certain number of people with a single rocket. And it's like, well, the chances of that many people being in a single area that could be killed by a rocket, if they were playing the game well, they just wouldn't. That opportunity wouldn't be there. So you've got to set that up. You've got to set up that opportunity. And once you've set it up with a few friends online, you go, okay, everybody ready? And then you rocket them and kill them and get the achievement. It's like, that's not an achievement. Why would anybody want to do that other than to get the achievement?
Yeah.
I get on the consoles because there's, you get points or something. You get like, and these points are worth something. I think you can trade them in for like retro games or something. I'm not sure. Someone will correct me, but they're worth something. There's an intrinsic value to the achievements in the game. So people just chase these achievements all day long, and they're not really playing the game. They don't. That's not what it's about. It's all about getting those achievements. And what something that sort of started off as such a positive, encouraging thing that made me enthusiastic about playing old games when I looked at the achievements and thought, well, I haven't done that. I better fire it up and have a go. It's kind of turned into something silly now. I mean, there's, what's it called? There's a game, it's one of the sort of walking simulator type things. I'll bring it up on my Steam list because it's actually something I haven't touched yet, and I probably should. I probably should play this. So,
well, again, in my case, in regards to Slime Rancher, there are a couple of the achievements which involve getting up close and personal with tar slimes. Now, those of you who don't play Slime Rancher, the tar slimes are the most dangerous slimes on the ranch because they pose a threat to you as well as other slimes. They will attack you. And to get some of the achievements, you've got to get close to these things. As in, you actually have to get yourself bitten by one of the tar slimes to get a particular achievement. Or was it to get yourself bitten 15 times? Something of the sort. And again, it's forcing you to get near the game's primary enemy to get that achievement.
I mean, chances are you will naturally get that achievement over time anyway, because, you get hit occasional. But if you're playing the game really well, if you're a good player that sees the threat and thinks, well, I don't want that to happen, and you avoid it.
I don't think it's a thing you can build up over time. I think it's
you have to be bitten by the same one?
Yeah, in a short space of time.
See, that's just something you have to go out of your way to do.
Yeah,
and it's
precisely.
It's not something that's good. Like, that's not a positive thing to do with your character.
No. And considering the character has well, she doesn't exactly have very little health. Like, there's you can purchase with in-game currency to improve your health and your stamina. But even with that, if you get attacked by some of the much larger Largo slimes, especially the rock or the crystal ones, the ones that have got spikes on them and actually do damage to you, if you get attacked by 3 of those in quick succession, they'll take down at least half of your health. And if that's all you're surrounded by, you're screwed.
Yeah, again, it's not something that it's not something that you should be thinking of as an achievement. That's not achieving. That's the issue I have. An achievement should be something that, as you play the game, you naturally progress, and you do something good. You get rewarded for doing that good thing, or you do something a little bit, sideways. So it's not necessarily better, but just sideways. It's like, well, you dealt with the problem in a way that it's not the normal way of dealing with that problem, but you still accomplished it. That's achieving. That's an achievement. And so there are games that do that have achievements where it's like literally do this a different way, and you sit there puzzling about it and go, aha, I know of a way I can do it, and you feel like you've achieved something, and that's a good feeling.
Or in the case of Monster Hunter, all you've got to do is start the game.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the achievements in that game are actually beneficial to statistics, which is another interesting point. I'd almost forgotten I wanted to make this point, but yeah, this is true. You get statistics because obviously it tells you the percentage of people on Steam and GOG, and I think GOG does it anyway, but it tells you the percentage of people who have earned that achievement. And that can be really useful for statistics. For example, when you've got an achievement of like do the first thing in the game, and you see that like 80% of people have achieved it, you think, well, 20% of people haven't even played this. They haven't even started it up. So we can ignore all of the statistics to begin with. So we know that the remaining statistics are the people who have actually played the game. You can see how far people get. You can see people's progression. And when people get bored and fed up of games, or they look at it and think, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to go any further. Or if they're just taking their time. You also get some stats where you've got like games where the achievements are stupidly hard, but there's a lot of people cheating in the game, and there's a high percentage of people who have an achievement that you're like, I don't genuinely think that many people got that achievement. I think they might be cheating.
And this is one of the other topics you wanted to discuss, which was cheating.
Yeah, it leads
in games.
It leads neatly into it later, but yeah, that's something that bugs me is that these stats are not more used to sort of see what games are successful and how successful they are. To put in, I guess, like milestones in the game to see how far people get, to see how many people actually saw the game would be really good for a developer to actually see how many people actually got to see your game in completion. How many people completed it? How many people just fire it up and play it a bit and, don't really worry about it? They're enjoying themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. But how many people are just like, I just want to play the game a bit? But I'm not really into like rushing through, or, I don't want to binge it. I've got lots of other games on the go, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because these days, like, I don't know much about the history of gaming. As we've explained before in the podcast, I was out of gaming for quite a long time. As in, the last console I ever owned was in the late 90s, 2000s, and it was a Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
But when these kind of things, started off on arcade machines, you could probably describe them as sort of casual games. It is a thing that people did for fun. It was a source of entertainment.
Yeah.
But there are games these days that you can't possibly play them casually. It's literally like being involved in a Hollywood film. It's an entire other world that you're right in the heart of, and you've got to take it seriously.
The Stanley Parable was the game I was trying to desperately think of, but my mind went blank. The Stanley Parable has an absolute doozy of a selection of achievements in it. One of the achievements is like, don't play the game.
Really?
I'm not kidding. I don't know if you've heard of this game, but like,
no, I've never heard of it.
So it's kind of a walking simulator, but it's got a wit. There's a certain wit to it, and it's definitely a highbrow experience. I've not played it yet, and I desperately want to. I mean, some of the achievements are just stupid. There's an achievement here that's literally just somebody leaned on their 8 key. And it's just lots of 8s. It doesn't tell you how to achieve it. It doesn't tell you anything about it. It's just nothing. And then there's an achievement called Go Outside. Don't play the Stanley Parable for 5 years. That's an actual achievement. I just think, I get the humor here. Like, obviously they got a sense of humor, but like, what's the point in any of this? Like, what does this achieve for them?
That sounds like the type of achievement that you leave until last. You've completed the game. That's the only achievement you haven't achieved. And you're like, well, I finished the game, so I can safely move on to other games. I'll come back in 5 years to get that last achievement.
There's an achievement called Unachievable, which the description says it is impossible to get this achievement.
Okay.
It's just... See, the problem is that, yeah, achievements, just like everything on Steam, are not moderated. There's nobody sitting there going, well, this is okay, but you can't do that. So some people do. They just take the piss. And yeah, so that's my experience with achievements. Like way back when, I really enjoyed the feeling of getting achievements, but now, meh. Achievements are just a thing that happens in the background. If I've played a game for ages and there's only like 2 or 3 to go, I might bother to do it, but generally, I just lost interest now.
It depends how structured the games are as well, I suppose, because it's like, again, I know I keep bringing it up, but it's one of the main games I'm playing at the moment. In the case of Slime Rancher, you're encouraged to explore. You're encouraged to go out of your way, especially in the case of the treasure pods, because they are so well concealed. You have to go out of your way to find them. As in, you have a jetpack to be able to explore, so you can travel from island to island and even up mountains. The glass desert was a pain in the arse for me, because especially when I first found the glass desert, I didn't do a lot of exploring there because I frequently got lost. Even though I was provided with a map, the map doesn't include all the underground tunnels and passages that are in the glass desert. And I just could not find my way out. So for most of the time, I wasn't looking for the treasure pods. I was more concerned about getting back to the ranch because I had slimes, that still needed food and needed taken care of. And there was one instance where I was lost in the glass desert in game for 2 days.
Jesus.
Yeah, I could not get out. I knew where the teleporters were, but I was lost in the tunnels. I just could not find my way out. It was horrible.
I mean, I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter World recently, and the map in Monster Hunter World is similarly just confusing. Because a lot of the maps are layered on top of each other, and the map is two-dimensional. So, when it's got these kind of 3D sections and you've got ramps and climbing trees, and you're just like, well, I don't know where this is. It kind of generally tells you how far it tells you whether it's above you or below you, but only on the sort of mini map does it tell you how far above you things are or how far below you things are. So that the map in that is equally as confusing. You're looking at it thinking, well, how do I get there?
I have never heard you so angry playing a game. Especially when you're in the middle of fighting a monster and it decides to bugger off to the other side of the map. Because you've had issues with the scout flies not working.
Yeah.
You've had issues where the scout flies are taking you in completely the wrong direction. And your missions are time limited. So when the monster that you're fighting and you need to kill buggers off to the other side of the map, especially in a large area like the Ancient Forest, which is a maze,
it is. Yeah.
You haven't got a hope in hell.
I mean, it's a hard game anyway, but the difficulty doesn't really come from. I think I've touched on this before, but like the difficulty doesn't necessarily come from the game being difficult, as it is just the game being awkward. And I think I would not be angry with the game. I wouldn't hate it as much as I do if I didn't love parts of it. Like the game does so much right. There's so many good things in the game, and then when it clearly does something really odd, and you're looking at like why would it work this way? Why would you do this? Like the first time you encounter an enemy that is actually genuinely difficult, I would say is the Anjanath, which is a fire based enemy. It can set you on fire, and it hits like an absolute truck. And you don't have access to decent armor, so you can't really just tank the hits. It'll kill you. It can one shot you. It's the first enemy you meet in the game that can one shot you, and it's just like this is unfair. What can I do to grind my way up to get better? You can't.
Yes.
You can't, because in order to defend against it, you need to kill it so you can harvest parts off of it so you can build armor to kill it. I'm just like, But I've
Yes.
killed it now. I don't need to. I don't need the armor now. I need different armor because there's a new monster. This is stupid. It's stupid design. And it's when it does incompetent things like that that you're staring at it like, but this should be so much better if it just had some finesse, somebody coming along and going, well, why don't we make it so that there's a monster that you can kind of grind up if you're having difficulty with this one, that you can get parts off and you can sort of figure it out that way. But it's the first monster that you encounter that has any kind of fire effect, and the only fire resistance is from that monster's parts. It's frustrating, and it's not the only monster. It's just the first one, and there's no way that you can avoid it. So you kind of need help, which leads me into the next topic I wanted to talk about, which is kind of forced multiplayer. A lot of games these days it's either forced multiplayer or forced co-op, where, for example, Dark Souls and the kind of somebody can just join your game in progress, or you're encouraged to add other people to the game because that is fun. Apparently, I mean, I like single player experiences, and I like multiplayer experiences. I don't really want them both to be the same thing. I kind of want them to be separate things. There are times I want to play a single player game, and that's probably why I'm having so much frustration with Monster Hunter World. It's like, yeah, sure, you can play this single player or multiplayer. I don't believe you. I don't believe you, Store Page. You can play it single player. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a good time in single player. You're going to struggle.
If any of our listeners are fellow gamers and you've played Monster Hunter World and had frustrations with it, shall we say, or similar problems as what Fox has been having, let us know in the comments below, because we'd like to see whether he's not the only one who's suffering with it.
I could send you a cup of my tears at this point as a prize to sip in your glory. I mean, there are people who are much, much better at the game than me. I play because I enjoy playing, and when it becomes not enjoyable, I kind of want to stop playing, and then I stare at it like, but it's a good game. Why is it pissing me off like this? It doesn't need to. And the whole forced multiplayer aspect, or forced cooperative, play, where you kind of need to have similar level friends to play. Monster Hunter World does not do that well. Basically, it has this system where you have cutscenes, and if it's your first time watching the cutscene plays, and it never plays again. So you only play it once. But during cutscene missions, a mission where there is a cutscene in the mission, you can't play that multiplayer until the cutscene has happened. So I'm trying to play with a friend to make things easier, and every time we hit a new mission, oh, we're not multiplayer anymore. We have to go our own separate ways. And we can't, he has to do his game, he has to do the mission on his own, and then I have to do the mission on my own. So we end up playing every quest twice, because we're going to play once for me and once for him. Why? That's idiotic. That's stupid design. Why does it do that? It's stuff like that that just really gets to me. But yeah, we're focusing a lot on Monster Hunter World because it's kind of what I've been playing this week. But there are plenty of other games, plenty of other examples, especially new games that are sort of pushing this idea of cooperative in single player experiences to fight together to do better. And it's not an optional thing as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, it's kind of encouraged. Yeah, you can play it single player, but you're gonna have a bad time. Play it multiplayer, please. Play it multiplayer. And it's like, I don't want to. If you're going to give me the choice, make it an actual choice, a real, genuine choice, so that if I want to play multiplayer, I can get my friends and play multiplayer, because I don't like playing randoms online. I've had bad experiences with random people online, and I don't want to do that. So a game that kind of says, yeah, you get this far in the game, and yeah, you're going to need some help. Why don't you send an SOS flare and get some random people to join you? I don't want to. I don't want that. I like the idea the system is there, and I know there's people who are going to be really like, that's for me. That's a system. It's not for me, though. I want my friends, so I want a private server. It allows me to create a private server, but it doesn't let me play it because it keeps kicking them out.
Yeah, because playing with randoms online is just it's not fun most of the times, and as we know, the main culprit for this is Dota. Whilst it is a good game and we do enjoy playing it together, we only enjoy playing it together. Like we recently had a member of our circle who essentially left because he wanted to play with randoms and we didn't, and it's caused a lot of trouble. But a lot of the randoms you get online are the ones who are they're the top tier gamers. This is what they spend all of their spare time doing, so they are ruthless. And if you end up in a match with a random and you do something they don't like, and you're not on the same level as them, they will tear you to shreds, and it's soul destroying.
Yeah.
It makes you not want to play the game again.
It does. It doesn't encourage new players. And to be fair to Dota, Dota is one of the least toxic of the what they call MOBAs, which doesn't mean anything. What a stupid term. But yeah, it's one of the least toxic of that genre, that style of game. There are plenty more toxic communities. I mean, Valve have it to their credit. Well, I assume I'll give Valve credit, but really it's the team behind Dota is doing all they can to try and encourage people to be nice to others and help them. You know, instead of shouting at them for doing something wrong, help them to understand what they did wrong so that they can do better. There are over 100 heroes in the roster. You can't expect somebody, even who has played for quite a while, to know every move in every situation at every point in the map. You know, there's so many variables. It's been described as a game of mistakes. The whole idea is it's so complicated. It's such a complex, not complicated, but complex. It's such a complex game with so many facets at any given time. And it's cloak and dagger. You don't know what the enemy is doing. So, you know, you're always second guessing, and you shouldn't be angry at your teammates unless they genuinely do something utterly stupid or they're actually, you know, doing it deliberately. You know, but if somebody is doing something stupid and they don't know they're doing something stupid, it doesn't help to shout at them. You know, explain to them why that's stupid. You know, help them to play better, because at the end of the day, wouldn't everybody be having a much better time if they understood how to play the game better?
And to our listeners, those of you who have never played Dota, Dota is a literal baptism of fire. That's the only way you're ever going to learn the game, is you are thrown straight into a match. There is a tutorial session where you learn the mechanics and you learn the basics of how to play the game, but the main form of practice in the game is to play a match with the game's bots. You don't practice. You can demo a hero, but you're literally going to be the only one on the field. So the only way to learn how to play the game properly, it's a literal baptism of fire.
Yeah, it's not like you do the test of a hero and you try them out, and you can use the different abilities and try different items on them, but you don't really understand how that's gonna interact with the world around you. A lot of those items are based on enemies and what they're doing and resisting them, and you know, maybe you've got some stuns or roots or whatever to you know, to effectively win a team fight, but unless you're in a team fight, you won't see how that works, and it's very difficult. You kind of do just have to jump in with both feet and hope that you don't sink.
Yeah.
It's a difficult game, and it should be a difficult game, because if it was that easy to pick up, it would also be easy to master. And I think even at the very top tier, you know, the tournament championships, you see people make mistakes because they didn't think, oh well, the enemy might be doing this, and of course they were, because they could see them. The whole idea of warding the map to make sure that you know exactly where the enemy is. But at least with Dota, as far as I'm aware, it's not a game that has anyone that, you know, you can't really cheat the game. You can't put yourself into a situation where you just have pure advantage. I mean, there's counter-picking the enemy heroes, but that's part of the game. There's some heroes that are designed to shut down an enemy hero. If you're a new player and somebody counter-picks you, you're not going to have a good time. And you're going to start thinking, well,
No.
this hero's shit, where actually, no, the enemy hero was designed to stop your hero having a good time. And you don't learn that until much, much later. I mean, you can be playing it for years before you see some of these mechanics sort of coming into play.
And in our circle, unfortunately, we've had a couple of people who have been put off Dota completely because they were targeted, and it wasn't it wasn't a strategic counter. They were just targeted.
I mean, if you're a good player and you know what you're doing, in a tournament match, then sure, you want all the advantage you can. But in a friendly, just it doesn't help the enemy. Again, it doesn't help your
No.
opposition learn, and your opposition learning is going to make everybody have a better time. So sometimes it's better to just sit back and say, okay, well, I'll do my thing, and I'll leave you alone to learn the game, because it is a hard game. And that's why, again, it brings me back. This is why I don't like playing with randoms, because they're not on the same page.
No.
And it's very difficult to learn a game when you've got somebody laughing at you. Makes you want to not play the game. You want to be laughing with them. You want to go, oh, silly me, I jumped into that. Whereas if somebody's just preying on you, you're not having a good time.
Yes, and I've had games in Dota where I've been targeted, and it's not nice.
No.
It's not nice at all. And in our community, I'm the newest member to the game. I haven't been playing that long. I've only been playing a few months, and yeah, there have been several games where, and bear in mind these were friendlies, there have been several games where we've gone 3-on-3, and I've been specifically targeted because I'm the newbie, and yeah, it's not fun. It stops you having fun when you're being targeted just because.
Perseverance. You got to really persevere with it. If we play friendlies, if we play just with each other, you've got a team of people to support you. Just stay behind them, that kind of thing. But yeah, let's get back on track. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about cheating in games, because cheating. This is a great topic. A few years back, I remember playing a game. I think it was Counter-Strike we were playing, which is a first-person shooter. I'm sure everybody knows of it. It's massively popular. And somebody was cheating in the game, and they were clearly cheating. You could see that they were cheating. I think there's a kill cam in the game which shows you what they were doing, and like they were tracking people through walls, taking the shot immediately that person appeared. Because they were auto aimed. They had an aim bot sitting there that was just aiming at the character that they wanted. So they couldn't miss. They physically couldn't miss. They were shooting perfect headshots every time with this aimbot. And I managed to kill that person, and I felt so proud of it. And they were like, oh, well done, you killed me. And it's like trying to take away from the victory that I just scored. It was like, yeah, I just killed a cheater. You were cheating, and I still got you, But yeah, cheating in multiplayer games. Oh my God, why?
Yeah.
Why? Where's the if you're competing against somebody, if you're actually in competition against somebody, and you've got an even playing field, it's your skill versus their skill, and if you beat them, then you can feel good about it because your skill was better than their skill, or maybe you just got lucky or something. But you won. Well done, and you feel good about it. If you cheated, well, you were going to win. You just pressed the button, the I win button, and you won. And where's the sense of achievement in that? So I can't. I mean, I'm very much on that line of cheating in games generally bad, but there is an exception. And it's an interesting one. And I was thinking all week about this and going, I really should talk about this. But back in the old days, back in the 80s and early 90s, arcade machines were still very much a thing. And the kind of games that were released for arcade machines, they were designed to steal your money, basically. They were designed to let you feel like you were doing something, making progress, and then there would be a particularly difficult thing, a particular challenge that you would lose. Because the idea was that the game wanted to kill you, not too quickly, but it wants to kill you so that you put more money in it. And that's the general premise of an arcade machine. And people knew that. I mean, they weren't stupid, but like people became so good at these games that they were able to sort of get through a game on 1 credit. That's the kind of goal for the gamers in the 80s, was getting through a game with 1 credit. But there are still games out there that very few people have seen most of the content of the game, and it bugs me. As a content creator myself, I don't really like the idea if I created a game and like 60, 70, 80% of the people who played it, again, sort of echoing back to what we said about the achievements and people just not playing the game, I wouldn't want the people who played it to not have seen most of the game or not seen it to the end, because I created that content to be enjoyed, to be experienced. And yeah, there's a challenge in there, but if the challenge is so much that people can't actually see bits of the level or bits of the game, there might be levels they've never been to. Back in the day, sprites they've never seen, that kind of thing. I know, old school. But, there's content in the game that people would like to experience. And if the only way that they can experience it, whether it be due to a low level of skill, maybe they're just a casual gamer who doesn't necessarily play games all of the time, and they're not going to be able to play like 24 hours a day, just every day, to dedicate their life to getting good at a thing. For those people, sure, cheat. It's a single-player experience. You've tried to play the game. You've tried to play it the way it's meant to be played, and you're not getting anywhere. You're stuck. Maybe there's a challenge, and it's like, I just can't get past this challenge. It's the equivalent of handing the controller over to your big brother. Like, you do it for me. Get me past this bit, because I want to see more of the game. I enjoy this game, but I am stuck, and it's frustrating me. That's where I think cheats are okay, or just to. The other reason for cheating is if you've finished a game and you've literally done everything in the game and you just want a sandbox experience. The one that comes to mind was Grand Theft Auto 3, where once you finished the game, there were a host of, shall we say, developer options that could, turn on or turn off silly experimental things like pedestrians with giant heads or low gravity. And those kinds of things, yeah, they're cheating, because technically the game is no longer being played the way that it was intended for the experience, but you've already done the experience. Let's try something new, and it can extend the longevity of that game. And I think that's valuable. Having something that people can continue to play for a long time means that when you release your sequel in like 10 years, people remember the game because they played it more recently and they played more of it and they enjoyed it and they remember having fun. And when they remember having fun with a product, it's just an insta-buy. They see a sequel, they're like, oh yeah, I want that. That happened to me with Homeworld Cataclysm. I'd never heard of it, but I saw it in a shop and I remembered playing a demo of the original Homeworld and really liking it. So I saw it in a store. I was like, I've got to have that. I really liked the original. I didn't even know this existed. So yeah, that's an insta-buy. I'm having that. So yeah, it does influence people's spending habits. It influences what people want.
And I'll admit, I've resorted to a little bit of cheating in Slime Rancher, because I know I said you're encouraged to explore and to go out of your way to find everything, but there were 22 treasure pods in the Glass Desert, and as I explained earlier, I've gotten lost in that area, and it's been detrimental to my progress in the game. So I decided I'm going to have to look up where these treasure pods are, because this place is a maze. And if I get lost again, and it's going to... Because especially since I've discovered one of the slimes that I've got on the ranch, the quantum slimes, if they end up starving, unlike the other slimes, they will literally explode. So if they're beyond the point of starving and they can't find food, they will explode. So I could potentially lose all my quantum slimes because I haven't been around to feed them, because I was lost in the Glass Desert for 2 or 3 days. And getting quantum slimes are not easy. So in the case of the treasure pods, I thought, I've got to look up cheats. I've got to find out where they are, because I am not risking getting lost in this place again.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, yes, I did. And in fact, I ended up looking up some locations for other treasure pods in other areas of the map, because again, I thought I'd explored everywhere in these maps, and I just thought to myself, who knows how long I'm going to be stuck in here looking for these treasure pods. So yeah, I decided to look up their locations.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, as I talked about earlier, like the GTA 3, there were I can't even remember what they were now. There were packages, I think, but basically they were scattered all over the map, collectibles. And whenever game designers put these collectibles all over the map, it always feels like a lazy sort of attempt at giving you something to do. It's just like, collect things; they're everywhere. I know that the Far Cry series does this a lot. In fact, let's just call them Ubisoft games. They all do this. They've all got like tons and tons of collectibles everywhere, scattered about the map. And the whole point is, all right, as you're playing through the game, you find these things. But we live in the age of Wikipedia. Like, Steam has its own browser built in, which you can just look at while you're playing, and it's not a problem. So for most gamers, when they get these collection quests, it's like, I guess I'll just look up where they are, and then I'll follow the map. And you think, well, what was the point of putting it in the game? Clearly, this isn't content that's like fun. Okay, and joining us in the channel, better late than never, J.H.A.
Hello, Jay. How are you? How is everyone?
Not too bad.
Too hot. Too fucking hot.
It is too fucking hot. I think that might be the episode title at this point. It's fucking hot.
Yeah, it's been roasting here all day as well.
It's like 26 degrees indoors. Not just in the shade, indoors.
So, sorry I'm late, guys.
That's okay.
What have we been talking about?
Well, we've literally only covered 2 topics because we've discussed them quite extensively. And the main one that we were just discussing was cheating in games.
Hate it.
Yeah.
Especially when, for instance, I play a lot of Minecraft and I watch a lot of Minecraft online to try and help with learning how to do it, especially considering my videos are Minecraft based at the moment. And there's a guy that he's got an open server, and this guy hates cheaters that much that this one kid came into Minecraft and he was like stupidly overpowered. He was killing people one hit, and he was just spawn killing people. He was just griefing people for no reason. So this guy put barriers up, which apparently you can't actually see or get rid of unless you're the person who put them there.
Right.
He just surrounded this person in barriers and then put lava in it, and this guy was so stubborn that he was trying to get out of the game via hacking that he was just spawning in lava, dying, spawning in lava, and by the end of it, there was about nearly every single person out of the 200 people on the server had just formed a ring around this person watching him die constantly.
Yeah, so we were especially discussing cheating in multiplayer games. I personally haven't had any experience of this, but Fox was discussing it.
Not that long ago, actually. I was playing Monster Hunter World. Like, it was quite early because I'm kind of in the late game now. I finished the game. I've done all the things that you need to do in the game. There's a couple of bits of content that I haven't touched on yet, but pretty much finished. But early on, while I was still learning the game, we did have some random people join because, like I said, they have this flare system where you can introduce people that you do like. Your friends can join you, but so can everyone else. It's not the cleanest system for multiplayer. But we had somebody join, and I don't think we ever saw this person. They just wandered off on their own and did their own thing. And like, they were one-shotting monsters. They were one-shotting them. Like, the monster has like thousands of hit points, and they were just like one shot, which you can't do. There's no content in the game that allows you to do that much damage. So clearly they were cheating. And it just spoiled it for me. Like, why would you do that? I know it's a co-op experience, but why are you ruining the game? And now you're ruining my game, I don't want that. I'm okay in single player. If you want to cheat in single player, because there's reasons for cheating in single player. I wouldn't cheat a single player game that I'd never played before. But if I played the game to, like, its logical conclusion, I've done everything, then maybe that can extend the longevity of it.
As I was just discussing about hunting the last of the treasure pods in Slime Rancher,
Right.
I had to look up the map for it because they were in an area where I had a track record of getting lost. And with the slimes on the ranch that needed taken care of, I couldn't afford to get lost. So to find the last of the treasure pods, I thought to myself, I've got no choice here but to cheat and find their locations through other people who have already found all the treasure pods in the area.
I mean, ultimately, you'd have found them eventually anyway, because you'd have kept persevering and kept looking and kept finding one here, one there. But do you really want the frustration of spending weeks and weeks looking for something where
No.
you could just be enjoying the game?
Because let me tell you, some of those treasure pods were so out of the way, I would never have found them because I would never have gone into that area.
I'm more okay with what they call trainers, which is, it gives you some kind of advantage, either infinite lives or infinite money or infinite health. Like those kinds of things are good for single player experiences for people who just want a sandbox. And there's plenty of sandbox games now. Like that's become more of a popular thing, but certainly for the older games.
You can buy a sandbox in Amazon now, and you can buy one in Argos.
I have several bags of children's sand in my attic, but that's
I'm not going to ask.
Sandbags for camera equipment. That's what.
Yeah,
it weighs
I know.
things down. It's good.
Yeah. And the other, the first topic we discussed was, what was it again, Fox?
Well, I've got written here, it's fucking hot, but that's literally what I wrote down first. We were talking achievements, but I actually wanted to move on from the cheats because it segues quite neatly. You've got cheats and you've got trainers, but what about pay to win? This really gets to me, the idea that somebody can just put real money down and get an actual advantage in a game. Now, pay to win is one of those terms that I think is poorly written. Because it should be pay to help. It pay to give me an advantage. It doesn't automatically mean you're going to win.
Isn't pay to win usually just mobile games, like mobile phone? I've got a couple of them.
It used to be. It used to be a thing that mobile games would have these pay to win mechanics where you could put real money down and get some advantage, or you didn't have to wait for things. And then over time, developers have just sort of put it in everything.
Yeah.
They've made the game deliberately so that you kind of do want to put money in. It's all psychologically trying to tempt you into putting money down into a game that just because you're not having a good time. So
and as we know, because it's being reported on quite extensively, we've got all these in-game loot boxes that have literally bankrupted some families.
Yeah, it's there's reports of people getting into serious financial trouble because they are microtransactions. They are small things that you're not supposed to. You put the money down and you're not supposed to remember. Oh, I put this much money here. That you don't log it. You don't track any of it.
And these are in kids' games as well. Like recently, the most infamous one is that instant with the FIFA game. There were siblings. Their father had bought them a FIFA game, and about a month or so later, when one of the parents went to purchase something on their card, they found that the account had been emptied entirely. There wasn't a single penny left in there, and what they found out had emptied their account was their children playing FIFA. Because the children, although the father did take responsibility for it, the children remembered their father's account details and they were paying to try and get their favourite player in the game. These are children who have no concept of money.
Yeah, they wouldn't understand like that there's a consequence to that. There's no concept of real money. They were all under the age of 10. That much I remember. And like FIFA is listed as ages 3 and up, I think. So, the game basically says this is suitable for children. But when it has I mean, I need to be clear, the UK has ruled it's not gambling because they weren't playing for money. They were playing for an arbitrary thing. It's just a player in a game. It's not real. There's no financial gain from playing that gambling, that kind of gambling.
That's utter bullshit.
But
because
it is gambling by any other
because
word.
they both have the same outcome, possible financial ruin.
You are definitely putting money down on something, but gambling in this country is restricted to winning money. So it's not gambling unless you can win money from it. And like that's how they're getting away with it. But it's wrong. Or in my opinion, it's wrong.
Going on from that, have you heard about the kid in America? I don't know if it's recent or it was a couple of years ago. He had a play-to-win game. I thought it was on mobile, but it could have been on console for all I know. This kid, he asked both his parents if they could loan him their credit cards so he could literally pay to win. And when they said no, he took them to court and divorced them both. That's how bad it's getting now, where kids are like constantly, game, and then it's causing problems at home as well.
That's crazy, and it's going to end in so many more tragic stories of people's families being ruined by this psychological manipulation, because that's what it is. At the end of the day, this is psychological warfare. They have declared war on the gamers, and they're not interested in pushing out products that entertain us anymore. They're interested in products that they can use to tempt us into throwing all of our money away, because it makes them so much more money than making games ever did. But it's wrong, and it's ruining people, and it's short-term business strategy, because these people are not going to buy the next game. You've ruined them. They can't afford the next game, so they want all of the money in the world, or it's just not good enough. But my opinion is that their games are not good enough, so I'm not buying any of them. It's just, when they start getting better, that's the way it's going to be. I don't like the idea of playing a game which has pay-to-win mechanics in it that's a multiplayer experience either, even if it's co-op.
Because we've, from other sources, we've heard about children, because video games especially are still, they're more popular than ever now amongst the younger generation. And there have been cases of children being bullied in school purely because they can't afford, and this is actual real world money afford, not in-game currency afford. They can't afford to upgrade the cosmetics on their character in these games.
Oh, yeah.
And these are international multiplayer games, so children can get together online, and at this age, these are children who will know each other from school, so they know each other in the real world as well, not just online. And if they can't afford something like that, they are getting bullied because their character is still in its default stage.
Default being like the thing that they chant at school. They're default because they use default skins. It is psychological manipulation of, trying to make people, trying to push them out, make them feel like outsiders because you're not one of us. You didn't buy the skins.
And God knows children are cruel when they want to be. My mother has always said children are natural psychologists. If they want to wind you up, they know which buttons to press.
Oh, yeah.
And they are ruthless in it when they want to be.
Speaking of ruthless, Adobe.
Don't get me started on that.
Oh, yeah.
it's not so much pay to win as just pay. Just keep paying. We used to sell products. We used to make software that you could buy, but now you just keep paying us, and then we'll let you use it.
They are the market leader. They have no competition. So why are they doing what they're doing?
Because they've got no competition.
I know this is a topic close to your heart, Ptolemy, but
Yes.
it's the same with me, because as a photographer, I do need to use Adobe products. I use Lightroom in my editing, and I like Lightroom. It's a lot more streamlined and easier to get the job done, a lot quicker for my workflow than, say, Photoshop, which Photoshop is good for creation.
Yes.
I'm not a huge fan of it for manipulation, because there's too much that can be manipulated, and you end up with you're editing too much at that point. You're creating something.
Do you know how much it is now for the full Creative Suite per month on the internet as a subscription?
I dread to think.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
£87.50 a month.
A month.
What?
90 quid a month. Nobody's
£90 a month, yes.
This is the problem I have with it, is like the only people who could actually afford their software anymore, and bearing in mind, again, I come back from the 80s, so like their software has been market leading for a really long time. It's just the go-to default software for any creative. You need that software because there is no real alternative.
And this is my issue. I'm a freelance illustrator. Like my business is still in its fledgling years. I haven't quite gotten myself off the ground yet where I'm earning enough money to make a living. I used to use Adobe Photoshop a long time ago, and this was in my university years, because we were taught several disciplines of illustration, including its digital counterpart. I'm more a traditional illustrator, but I had to learn how to use the Adobe Creative Suite to produce work for my projects. And I found that I liked doing, some photo manipulations in my free time. And because I was using that, I used to have I think I used to have the parent teacher pack, but that version is now so outdated. It's unusable.
Yeah.
In this day and age, in regards to how far technology has advanced, especially in the creative aspect. And the other day, I was creating a background for the to use in the videos for this podcast, and I no longer have Photoshop on my machine. And I was pointed in the direction of GIMP, which I did use in a job that I was made redundant from. And I just remember thinking, I despise this software. There are things in the drop-down menus that make absolutely no sense. The grouping was all over the place. There were things you found them in places you didn't expect to find them. It has sort of the basic same principle as Photoshop in that, you can, do layered work, but I couldn't find any of the select tools, like what's the equivalent of the magic wand tool in Photoshop. I couldn't find that anywhere on GIMP, and then actually moving things around was just a nightmare in itself.
Hold on. GIMP, magic wand. There's a pattern emerging here.
Uh-huh.
Do you know the other meaning of a magic wand?
Oh.
No, I don't.
Oh.
Oh.
And a GIMP.
No.
Are you sure you're on the right website there, Ptolemy?
Yes, I am. This software is genuinely called GIMP. And yes, I do know what a GIMP is, but because yes, I remember thinking that is a very odd name for that, but yeah, this software is genuinely called GIMP. It's a creative / photo editing software.
And it's open source, and it's free, but using it is about the equivalent of trying to use Blender to do video editing. Yeah, it can do it, but it's not great.
It is an absolute fucking nightmare to work, especially, well, from my perspective anyway. What I managed in an hour on GIMP, I could have done in 5 minutes on Photoshop.
And I think Adobe is aware that people, creative professionals and amateurs alike, is aware that their software is in the position that it is. They have to be aware of that. They know exactly what they're sitting on. They know that they've made it unavailable and unappealing.
Yes.
For anybody but the already established. I mean, if you're making money, then by all means, go ahead, invest some money back into the software that you use. But if you just want to do it casually, like I don't make money from my photographs, but if I want to have software that I want to edit my photographs with, I'm going to choose Lightroom. I would like to purchase Lightroom, and Adobe says, no, you can't purchase Lightroom. You can only borrow it. You can rent it from us for a period of time, and if you stop paying us, you stop having access to it, which means you can no longer edit your raw files because we're holding that to ransom. And I don't like being strong-armed. When I'm offering them money, I'm just like, how much just to buy it? I don't want anything else. I just want this one piece of software. How much? Please sell it to me. No, we won't. Subscription model only.
And when he says you won't be able to edit your raw files, what he also means is you won't even be able to open them.
Well, particularly in Photoshop, because you got the PSD format, is it?
Yes.
Well, obviously that format is I wanted to say it's exclusive, but there are other readers that can read them and open them. But in future versions, they could change the format, tweak it slightly, and make it incompatible with other software. I mean, you found that the other day. You were trying to open something that was a PSD, and it wouldn't open in some software because it was outdated. The software was outdated. It's a modern PSD. It's just like if they can flip a switch or they can add a line of code and suddenly you can't access your files anymore unless you give us more money, that's not okay. That's very bad business practice.
Yeah. And for a fledgling creative, because especially digital art is on the rise. So many people now are making the change over to digital work. I personally, I'm a severe traditionalist when it comes to my artwork. I'm a colored pencil artist first and foremost, and that's what I've always done. But I've had to do digital work for clients as well as for my university work. But since I left university, the only reason I didn't go into my job or trying to build my career as an illustrator straight away is because we suffered a family tragedy, and it was somebody who I was really close to, and it threw me into a dark depression that made me suicidal for several years. And I've been building myself up from that, but because I've now had that large gap in between leaving university and actually trying to get my career off the ground, I can't really afford to do that until I actually have a regular string of clients coming in.
Yeah.
Which I currently don't have.
And you're not gonna have unless you got the sort. It's catch-22.
Yeah.
It puts you in an awkward place. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up. So all that remains is for me to thank everybody for listening, and thank you, Ptolemy and J.H.A. for joining me via the Fox hosting this week. Jay, do you want to lead us out with the where we can find things?
Yep. If you want to listen to this podcast, hopefully you do, you can find us on, and this list is getting bigger and bigger every day, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. don't forget, if you like us, subscribe, follow us, share us. And if you want to see more valuable content, hopefully we're looking for some donations off people so as we can buy some nice equipment, or we can do some specials, or one of the specials that we've got in mind for our one of our special videos will be playing Cards Against Humanity live with everybody. And I'm trying to set up a Discord as well, so as we can have guests literally watch as we're recording.
All sounds pretty cool. All right. Well, in that case, thank you very much for listening. Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye-bye.